Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. Today we're going to create an interactive waffle chart like this in Microsoft Excel. If the data behind the chart changes, so too does the waffle chart. To make a chart like this, you're going to start with a brand new workbook, and into the cells in the top right corner here we're going to put the data. And in this case, and for waffle charts in general, it's best to have a small amount of data. I've only got 2 items. So I've got bagels, and I'm going to format both these cells here as percentages. And so for bagels right now I have 30%, and for bread I have the rest. Now I don't want to have to change bread if bagels change, so I'm just going to make this equals 1 minus and then the contents of this cell, and then I'm going to get something that's going to update. So if I change the bagels value, then the bread is automatically going to change. Now for our waffle chart itself, we need some square cells. So I'm going to skip these 2 cells here. I'm going to start with E, and I'm just going to drag across, and I'm looking at the little pop-up there till it says 10C, because that means I've got 10 columns selected. Now I'm just going to drag on the divider here, and I can read off the number of pixels wide this is. So I'm going to make this 30 pixels. Then I'm going to come down here and select 10 rows. And again, it's telling me in that little pop-up how many rows I have selected. When I get to 10, I'm going to stop. And then I'm simply going to drag between 2 of these rows and read off the number of pixels until I get 30 pixels. So basically in here is a 10 by 10 grid of square cells. So I'm going to select over all of these, and I'm going to format them as percent, because that's going to make life a whole lot easier. Now we have to fill these cells with the numbers from 1 all the way to 100%. So I'm just going to type 1 and then 2. And up here I'm going to type 11 and 12. You can see that pre-preparing these as percentages means I just type in 1, and so Excel already knows that I'm talking percent. So I'm going to select over these 4 cells, hold down the right mouse button, this is really critical, the right mouse button, and drag across. And then I'm going to click on Fill Series, and you can see that it's filling a series. And then I'm going to again right click, drag upwards here, and again choose Fill Series. And so that just fills it with the numbers. It's the quickest way to do this. Now we're going to select over these values here, and we're going to set it up so that everything is hidden basically, and these are going to be our base color. So I'm using a fill color here, which is this color, and I'm using this for the text as well, so I already have it preset. So you can see that now we've got everything basically hidden. Now the other thing we're going to need here is a concatenation for some text in a minute. So I'm just going to type equals. I'm going to click on this cell. I'm going to type an ampersand and then a quote mark, a space, and another quote mark, and another ampersand. So this is basically in a minute going to attach bagels to this percentage value. So I'm going to click here to add this percentage value, but it has to be multiplied by 100 to get it into normal values, if you like. Another ampersand, and then a quote mark and a percentage sign and another quote mark, and press enter. And this is what we should have here is bagels 40%. So we're concatenating, joining together these 2 values, because that's going to allow us to put these in the waffle chart in just a minute. If I copy this down, I'm just going to concatenate the bread. So if we change this here to 35%, you can see that my little text objects, or the things I'm going to use for text objects in a minute, are going to change automatically. Okay, so now we need to just format this. So I'm selecting over all my data. I'm going to conditional formatting. I'm going to new rule. I'm going to check format only cells that contain, and the cell value is between 0, type in 0, and the cell I want to use to base it on. So I'm going to use the 35%. Then we're going down here to the format, and we're going to choose the format for not only the font but also the fill. So for the fill, I'm going to choose this 3rd orange. It's a slightly darker orange, and let's go here to the color for the font. I'm going to choose that exact same color, and I'll click OK and then OK again. And when I click away from it, we should see that the waffle chart is actually working. It just doesn't look as good as it could look. So we're going to select over all of these cells and we're going to put borders on them. Going to this border option here, I'm going to more borders. The trouble with more borders is that if you set your color to white, automatically you can't see anything here. So I suggest you set it to a sort of light gray to start off with, then select the kind of line you want because you can see them, then go back to white, and now we're going to choose outline and inside and click OK. And that's what you should see, as your chart should have little borders around it, but we're going to put a border around the entire chart itself. So select it again, go back to borders, go back to more borders. We're in the border option here. We're going to select the color. This time I'm going to use, well, I'm going to use a sort of slightly darker gray here. So let's just click on it. I'm also going to use this as my border, and I'm just going to choose outline and click OK. And so this is now my waffle chart, but it just needs some titles. So I'm going across to the Insert tab here. I'm going to Text Box. I'm going to drag over a text box. Up here on the formula bar, I'll press the equal sign, and then we're going to click here on the element that's showing. And in actual fact, this is bread because we've formatted bagels. So I'm just going to click on bread, and there is my text. With it selected, I'm going to shape format. I'm going to choose shape fill, no fill, shape outline, no outline. Just going to make it a little bit smaller here. Go back to the home tab, increase the font size, and choose a color as well. Now I can just grab this and copy it. So I'm holding down the control key to copy it. And then instead of C3, which is this cell here, we're just going to put the value of C2 in here. And when I do that, you can see that my bagels are entering into here, but I just need to fix up the fact that I lost my typeface here. So this chart is now live, and if I change my bagels percentage to say 45%, you can see that the chart is changing too. We would hide this column because all we're using it for is to supply the data for the chart. Once you've set up a chart like this, it's very easy to just reuse it over and over again just by changing the text in the cells here. Then everything else is going to change automatically. And you can, of course, take a picture of this chart and use it, for example, on a dashboard. If you like carefully researched content like this, clearly presented in a step-by-step format so that you can get great results every time, then you'll love my other YouTube videos. So give this video a thumbs up and click to subscribe to the channel. And on the screen now, you'll see a video that I've handpicked for you to watch next.